All right, thank you very much indeed, Mark. Well, we'll turn our attention now to a matter which we were touched on yesterday. It's got to do with, remember the quote-unquote Wadume case? Well, yes, the Board of Inquiry investigating that did come up with a report, and then there were several recommendations. They talked about, standard operation procedures not being adhered to, how they needed to set up certain desks to ensure that they do things right between the army and the police, reduce interagency rivalry, improve on those interagency cooperation, and it went on. But let's get in some more perspective on this matter. We've got retired Brigadier General Williams Obene, who joins us via Skype this morning. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Well, those recommendations, most importantly, people just want to see, what do we do to ensure that things go well? But first of all, give us your impression about the report of the Board of Inquiry.
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, thank you for having me this morning. Thank you, viewers. My opinion is that the terms of reference for the Board of Inquiry from the convening authority is not available to me, and therefore I will not be able to submit to the extent that the recommendations proffered by the committee is sufficient to address the problem that we have with regards to joint operation or internal operation with the Nigeria Police Force. However, I think that they are far-reaching under the circumstance and the isolated situation. And it goes to address the institutional memory that somebody mentioned yesterday. We do not wait until there are clashes and incidents of this nature before we refer to rules of engagement and other procedures for internal security operations. The Nigerian military is at the forefront of internal security operation training, much more than any other service that I can think of. We call it Tactics B, or we call it keeping the peace. And we have pamphlets and training programs that occupy key components of our training cycle every year. So no service will tell us that they know internal security operations more than the armed forces, particularly the Nigerian Army.
All right, General. Could you tell us then, because beyond these recommendations, we also do know on a regular basis you get to see this between the security agencies, particularly the police and the armed forces. What would you recommend? What kind of steps should be taken? Because yesterday, when you heard the former commissioner of police say, when they go for joint operations or when they're doing certain things together, the police and the army tells you we're not trained to salute a police officer. So to the police officers, that hurts. How do we correct this institutionally?
Well, let's go back to history for the purpose of facts, figures, and enlightenment. You agree with me that for the past how many years that I can remember, the Nigerian military, and particularly the Nigerian Army, had always initiated programs, sports, and other activities to foster relationship between the armed forces and the Nigeria police in order to give them a sense of belonging. And that has worked well, except for a few isolated situations that we find ourselves. I think it's on the negative, it's on the minor. It's not a major issue if we have an isolated situation where somebody says that he cannot salute a police officer I think it's not correct for courtesy sake. However, I want to state clearly that he cannot also be commanded by the police or by any paramilitary service, that you insist that an army officer, a naval officer, an Air Force officer must salute you. It's a courtesy. The army, the military operates on customs, traditions, and regiments. Therefore,
jumping. But he didn't say.
Therefore, he cannot command it.
Sorry to jump in, and I hope you can hear me. He didn't say that they were insisting on that out of the blues. He's saying whilst they are on joint operations, and then maybe a ranking police officer, and then perhaps another military officer, he thinks that, look, what's wrong with the courtesy salute? But they say whichever way that won't be forthcoming from the army. But you also subscribe to nothing wrong with the courtesy salute. But many don't see it that way in the army.
I'll say that incident can only occur around the junior and intermediate officers and maybe soldiers level. But at the strategic level, at the operational level, such conflicts are not there because we have grown through the ranks and we have come to realize that, look, we have different functions, but we are serving the same nation and all that. So all those, little distractions should not be. However, for the purpose of clarification, the police itself, is organized in such a way that you cannot say that they have ranks. Police don't have ranks. Police have appointments. The soldiers have ranks because officers are commissioned. Police officers are not commissioned officers in the sense that they do not have parchment of commission. They do not have presidential commission. And then when you go into joint operations, the problem is that when we are doing joint operation, what are you bringing to that joint operation? If you send 3-4 policemen with an inspector, and you send a captain with a company of a company of 90 soldiers, with all the equipment, he's not going to subordinate himself to the police commander, even in a joint situation. If you are talking about after you have handed over, the role of the police will be to carry out stabilization operations. Their own is to stabilize the civil population within which we are operating so that the military will not be distracted. But you don't find the policemen there. The soldiers will find themselves doing stabilization, doing the primary assignment of internal security operations. These are some of the things that we raise risk and arguments. So it is not, like I said, it is not commanded, because sometimes the police too will want to expect he feels that the officer is junior to him. But I'm trying to say that there is no basis for comparison, because the police is a civil authority, while the military is the military.
No, General.
Rank, he has an appointment. He doesn't have a rank. The IGP is not a rank. Commissioner of Police is not a rank, it's the office. That is why if you go to the IG's office, you will see a board we call Chronicle of Command. Under the Chronicle of Command, you will see Chronicle of Command of Inspector General of Police. Number 1, Mesters Academy, where only the Army remains, the Navy will go, the Air Force will go. So with that, when you run into a colleague of yours that attended the same academy with you, that is a police officer, you no longer look down on him, or he's not expecting you to, accord him the respect that you ought to accord him. Those were solutions that we are looking for. But under the present debate now, as against decentralization of the police for state police and all that, I don't think that will be feasible, where you train all of them and make them part of the armed forces. However, this is a democracy.
If that is what the politicians want, they can tinker with the federal, with the constitution. The lawmakers can tinker with the constitution because we have templates all over the world. Like I said, Indonesia, the police force is part of the armed forces of Indonesia. And in fact, they use the same rank. A colonel in the police is equivalent to a colonel in the army, and it's equivalent to a colonel in the Air Force.
General, let me ask you this just before we go. Given the tasks given to the police, just as you have mentioned as being the first line of defense of the people, and then the military being on the fringes, so to speak, are you in any way suggesting that the military is superior to the police?
Yes, the military is superior to the police and other paramilitary agencies based on these two things. The equipment holding of the armed forces and the training of the armed forces is superior to that of the police.
So perhaps those suggestions that you're giving is in order to harmonize the rank between the police and the army and how to improve interagency rivalry. We hope that those who are thinking about amending the Constitution will take this on board such that perhaps who knows what will happen to the Board of Inquiry's report and recommendations as well. But we thank you for talking to us this morning, retired Brigadier General Williams Obene.